Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be on the planet. Welcome to the Humanitarian Toolbox AllReady Community Stand-Up. We are a project that is basically designed to help in coordinating volunteers when you are doing pre-disaster relief work. So it's emergency preparedness, disaster preparedness before a disaster strikes. And one of the things that we talk about, we use it as an example if you're new to the project, is that there's the Red Cross, the American Red Cross as an organization, is actually using and piloting this software. So this is real software. If you want to get your hands dirty with the new bits in ASP.NET Core, and an announcement about which editor to use as well today, then this is a good project to do it, and you can be coding for the greater good. So Steve's on the line with us here today, and I think you've got some updates and announcements for us, so I'll pass it over to you.
Sure, yeah, well, we're right in the thick of a move over to the Visual Studio 2017 parts now, so we've kind of got a branch going, and I've been working on it this morning, messing around with mainly AppVer. Actually, most of the process of the migration was pretty slick. A few little gotchas along the way that I'm documenting as I go, but we're down to the last bits now. The web job's just resisting us, I think, in our AppVer build system. Once we get that all solved, I think we've got a little bit of testing to do just to make sure the projects work for everyone. And then I think we can make the big switch over, at which point everyone will need to work with either Visual Studio 2017 or VS Code, or if they're really excited to do so, the command line and text editors if they want to.
Right on. And if the web jobs are giving us too much trouble, the future of web jobs is actually a migration over to Azure Functions. So I can probably spearhead that this week. Do we, if we, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll park that for now, and after the stand-up, we'll have a quick chat. And if it's not needed that we get web jobs running this week, because that would be essentially for testing for email and SMS notifications, then we might be able to punt it, because SendGrid is part of the available libraries and Twilio, I believe, are part of the available libraries in Azure Functions, which is all that we're really doing in those anyways. So we can feed from a queue directly in Azure Functions and then build it out from there. It should be a trivial port, and then it would simplify deployment, I think. So we can give that a go. Okay, wonderful. So Visual Studio 2017, that is the way forward. Or if anywhere else, as you said, VS Code, if you want to, or Vim or whatever.
Notepad.
Notepad if you want to, sure. And on my side, I have a branch started. I have borked my Visual Studio 2017 install a little bit, so I'm just spinning up a VM, and I've got a branch started. I'm just trying to simplify the way that we register dependencies, because we're explicitly installing all of our dependencies right now, or explicitly registering them, and we can revert to assembly scanning, which will make things a little bit easier. And as well, we were using previously the custom class approach in order to register the dependencies that supported generic types using Mediator. And there's actually a library that's out there that Jimmy Bogart has put out that does the registration. So we can just do add Mediator and scan our assembly for the dependencies that way, and then we don't need to worry about that explicit registration. So that's what I am working on here, and I hope to wrap up today. And I think that's kind of it. We did see some chatter this week about someone who was previously working on the project. They had some data in their database, and when they ran a new version, we had some problems with the migration bit. So the solution there, I believe, was just to delete the existing data.
That was it. Yep.
Yeah, and then when you rerun the app, it'll go. Now that's not what we're doing out in prod. We kind of nurse it along a little bit more, but there have been a couple of points along the way where we've actually just stopped and said, okay, all of these now are going to be a snapshot, and we blow out the migrations, and then we kind of step forward from there. So if you happen to have had data ahead of one of those snapshots, I think that would have been a problem. We're not sure all of the scenarios, but if you don't have data that is required, and we do have seed data in there to help get you started, if you don't have data that's required, then we just kind of recommend blowing up the old bits. So I'm just going to have a quick look at our repository here. in the mix for polls. Are there any pull requests outstanding there that we need to address here in the next couple of days here, Steve?
I think we've got pretty caught up. Looks like we just got one new one from Gary there. So yeah, one to look at, but that looks pretty small. So we should be able to get that approved today, I would imagine.
Okay. Excellent. And we are actually coming up, whenever Tony's on, he likes to talk about the milestones and the some of the stats that we've got. Next couple, maybe not this week, but in the weeks ahead, we're gonna cross 1,000 pull requests on AllReady, and I think that's a pretty big accomplishment considering that we've got over 100 contributors from across the globe. So that's a really positive thing, and I think a really exciting thing for the project to get to that mark. There's, we're kind of getting into that space where very few open source projects get to in terms of the amount of contributions that are made from volunteers. So that's a wonderful thing, and we certainly appreciate the community. So excellent. Anything else on the radar this week that you're aware of, Steve?
Yeah, the only other bit that will be going in, if I get some time, is some more work around the auth stuff. So we've got the initial kind of bones of a new way of authorizing events, campaigns that I kind of alluded to a couple of weeks ago. That's now in, and I've got some sort of work ongoing to swap over all of the actions to start using that, so we can start using that as our main method of authorizing users for the actions they're taking. So there will be bits and pieces going in around that, I expect, but shouldn't affect too much of what people are working on.
Awesome. And as far as upcoming codeathons, I think we've got a period here where we don't have anything going on, but if anybody out there is interested in helping out working with your local user group leaders, or if you know of a conference that's upcoming where they might be able to donate some space for a day, then we would love to entertain the idea of having a codeathon where we can help and get you started. We've got resources to wire those up and to organize them, so we can definitely help walk people through that. If you'd like to know more about that, then just reach out to us either via an issue on GitHub is one way you can connect. On Twitter, it's at HTBox, or you can get a hold of any of us really through our handles and whatnot that are linked through show notes and Twitter and all of those things. You can, if you do a search for #AllReady, you'll find the contributors on the project that are active on Twitter. Great. Okay. Thanks, Steve, for helping me out this week, and we'll talk to everybody in a couple of weeks on the next community stand-up for AllReady.
Cheers.